Welcome back to the Real Life English podcast. Let's start with a really fascinating hypothetical question.
Oh, I love those.
Right. So imagine if you could somehow bend the laws of physics. You walk through a portal and you sit down on a park bench right next to your younger self.
That is the ultimate dream, isn't it?
It really is. What exactly would you say to them? I mean, we constantly hear people talking about what they wish they knew 10 or 20 years
Oh,
ago.
absolutely. We look back at all that time we spent just, worrying.
Yes, or the energy we wasted trying to impress the completely wrong people.
Mm.
Or that sheer panic of feeling like we were falling behind everyone else.
Right, because the natural instinct is to think, well, if I just had the map back then, I could have bypassed all those potholes.
Exactly. I could have saved myself so many years of pain.
It is a completely universal human fantasy. We want to act as this guardian angel for our past selves.
We really do. And today, we are setting out on a very special exploration of this exact topic. We're looking at a fascinating conversation where people detail the exact advice they wish they could send back in time.
But what makes this discussion so compelling isn't just, reading a list of life lessons.
No, not at all. Our mission today is to unpack the psychological reality behind why we struggled in the first place.
Right. And to understand why those lessons are still incredibly relevant to you, the listener, whoever you are, and wherever you are listening today.
We want to break down the mechanics of human growth, fear, and resilience, and we want to welcome you to this conversation.
Yes, welcome. Learning these lessons is such a shared human experience.
And since we know many of you listening are actively learning English, or maybe you just appreciate a clear, thoughtful discussion without all that rushed, chaotic energy.
Which is so common in media these days.
Exactly. We are keeping our pace deliberate and relaxed. We'll use simple, everyday language, but we are exploring some truly profound ideas.
We want this to be interactive, too. We will be asking you to reflect on your own journey as we go.
So before we even look at the very first piece of advice, we hit a massive psychological roadblock.
A really big one.
Yeah. The foundational question isn't just what would you tell your younger self? The real question is, if you actually sat on that bench and told them everything, would that younger version of you even listen?
Honestly, the brutal answer is almost certainly no.
No, they wouldn't. And that is not just because teenagers are arrogant.
Right. It's not a character flaw. It is about the fundamental way the human brain processes information.
We always hear that phrase, some lessons can only be learned the hard way.
Which is so true.
But why is that? If I have the information, why can't my brain just absorb it and, act on it?
Because there's a very real biological difference between two types of memory. We have semantic memory and episodic memory.
Okay, let's keep that really accessible. What is semantic memory?
When someone gives you advice, they're just handing you semantic information. These are abstract facts or concepts.
Like dictionary definitions?
Exactly. Your brain stores semantic memory in a very surface-level way. It's like reading the definition of an apple.
You read that it is round, it is red, it is a fruit.
Right. You know the facts. But episodic memory is what happens when you actually hold the apple and take a bite.
Oh, I see.
Your brain suddenly records the crunch, the sweetness, the sticky juice. Episodic memory involves your entire nervous system.
So if an older person tells a teenager, hey, don't worry about this breakup, you'll find someone else, that is just dictionary information.
It's purely semantic, yes.
The teenager hears the English words, they understand the sentence, but their body has absolutely zero physical proof that the pain is going to stop.
Precisely. The knowledge is in the brain, but the experience has to be in the body.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, and to explain the biology simply, lived experience creates these intense physical signals. When you make a mistake, your brain experiences what scientists call a dopamine prediction error.
A prediction error, meaning you expected something good, but you got something bad.
Exactly. Your brain expected a good outcome. When it gets a bad one, it floods your body with neurochemicals.
Like an internal alarm system.
Yes. It basically screams, warning, update the system, remember this exact feeling so we never do this again.
And just hearing advice from a time traveler doesn't trigger that chemical flood.
No, it doesn't. Without the physical mistake, the lesson just cannot anchor into your nervous system.
I always think about that classic example of a child near a hot stove.
Oh, that is the perfect analogy.
You can point at the stove.
Right.
You can say, that is hot, it will burn you.
And you can say it 100 times.
Exactly. The child understands the word hot. But until they reach out, accidentally touch the metal and feel that sharp jolt of pain.
The concept of hot is just a ghost to them.
The burn itself is what builds the memory. The mistake is the actual tool we use to learn.
Which completely changes how we should view our past mistakes, doesn't it?
It really does. We tend to look back at our errors with so much regret, we wish we could erase them.
But those mistakes were the physical tools your brain used to build your intelligence. The pain was just the cement drying.
That is a beautiful way to say it. But wait, if lived experience is the only way we truly learn, does that mean giving advice is totally useless?
Not at all. Advice isn't useless, we just misunderstand what it is for.
So what is it for?
Think of advice like a map for a mountain hike. Having a map in your pocket is incredibly helpful.
Right, it shows you the trails, the rivers, where the peak is.
Exactly. But the map does not hike the mountain for you.
Oh, wow, yeah.
You still have to feel the blisters on your feet. You still have to feel your lungs burning in the cold air.
The map gives you the context, but walking the rough road is what actually changes you.
The advice just prepares you. So when you finally feel the pain,
Yeah.
you aren't completely lost.
That is such a great transition. Let's look at the first major piece of advice on our map today.
Okay, let's do it.
It is a lesson about self-worth, and the core advice is simply this. Stop seeking validation from other people.
Seeking validation just means you're always looking at the people around you to confirm that you are okay.
Like asking, am I valuable? Did I make the right choice? Do you like me?
Yes. And when we are young, this is almost always our default setting. We care way too much about what others think.
We mold our entire personalities based on what gets applause from the crowd.
And it's so interesting to look at why we do this. Because it isn't just a character flaw.
No, it is actually an evolutionary survival tactic, right?
Exactly. If we rewind thousands of years, early humans lived in very small tribes, maybe 40 or 50 people.
Right. And in that environment, your literal physical survival depended entirely on the group.
Yes, if the tribe decided they didn't like you, they might cast you out.
And you definitely would not survive the winter alone.
So your brain evolved this incredibly sensitive radar for social approval, because historically, social rejection meant death.
That is wild. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect, don't they?
They do. The spotlight effect is the false belief that everyone around us is paying very close attention to everything we do.
Like you walk into a coffee shop wearing a bright shirt you weren't sure about.
Yes. And your brain tells you that every single stranger is judging your shirt.
Because your ancient caveman brain thinks, if they don't like my shirt, they will kick me out of the cave and a lion will eat me.
It sounds so absurd when we say it out loud like that.
It does. But the internal alarm bell feels extremely real.
It feels like life or death. Our modern world grew much faster than our biology did.
We live in cities with millions of people, but we are running software designed for a 50-person tribe.
Exactly. We exhaust ourselves trying to manage how every stranger perceives us.
I like to compare seeking validation to a television remote control.
Oh, I like this analogy. Tell me more.
Well, if you have solid self-worth, you hold your own remote control. You decide what channel is playing in your mind. You decide your mood.
Right. You are in charge.
But when you constantly seek validation, you are handing that remote control to other people.
Wow. You let them choose what plays on your screen.
Exactly. You let your boss, your friends, or even random people on the internet push the buttons and dictate how you feel about yourself.
Taking that remote control back is the first real step to finding your true self-worth.
It requires you to actively tell your brain, hey, this person disagreeing with me does not threaten my survival.
Yes. And when you finally break that link, you feel an incredible rush of freedom.
Let's pause right here. We want to bring you, the listener, into this framework.
We will ask you a question and then leave a quiet space for you to really think about it.
Think about your own life. Can you remember a time when you made a choice? Maybe what you wore or a hobby you quit just because you were worried about what someone else would think? How did that make you feel? Pause for 5 seconds.
Memories like that usually carry a very heavy, restricted feeling. Acknowledging that feeling is the first step to taking back your remote control.
It really is. Now, once we finally stop worrying so much about what the crowd thinks, we often stumble into the next big trap.
Oh yes, the trap of speed.
Right. We stop looking sideways at people and we start looking intensely at the clock.
This brings us to the next big lesson from the source material: the urgent need for patience.
The advice is that we need to be more patient with absolutely everything. Our growth, our success, our relationships.
When we are younger, we want things to happen incredibly fast. We expect the timeline of our lives to be a straight, fast line going up.
And our modern environment just makes this so much worse, doesn't it?
It pours gasoline on the fire.
Yeah.
We are surrounded by instant gratification.
Right. Like if I want to know a fact, I type it into my phone and get the answer in 1 second.
If you want food, it arrives at your door. If you want to watch a movie, you stream it instantly.
We have literally trained our brains to expect an immediate reward.
Which creates a massive conflict because human growth is not digital, it is organic.
We are biological organisms, not software programs. You cannot just download patience or resilience.
Exactly. And to understand this, we need to look at what physically happens inside the brain when you learn something new.
Let's do that. Keep the science nice and simple for us.
Okay, it involves a substance in your brain called myelin.
Myelin, okay.
Yes. When you practice a new skill, like speaking English or playing the guitar, neurons in your brain fire a signal.
Okay, a signal fires.
Right. And if you repeat that action over and over, your body slowly wraps those neural pathways in a fatty layer called myelin.
Like insulation on a wire.
Exactly like that. The more myelin you build, the faster and easier the skill becomes.
But the catch is, producing myelin is a slow physical process.
It is. Your body physically has to build that tissue. You cannot yell at your brain to build it faster.
It would be like trying to force a broken bone to heal in one afternoon.
Exactly. When you get angry that you haven't mastered a skill yet, you are basically yelling at your biology for functioning normally.
I always come back to the analogy of planting a garden.
I love garden analogies. They fit human growth perfectly.
They really do. Think about planting a seed. You put it in the dark soil, you water it, and you give it sunlight.
And then you wait.
Right. And for a very long time, absolutely nothing happens on the surface of the dirt.
If you expect instant digital results, you might think the seed is broken. You might dig it up after a week.
And if you dig it up, you destroy the invisible work that was happening.
Because under the soil, the seed is breaking open. It is pushing microscopic roots down deep into the earth.
It has to build a strong foundation before it can push a green stem up into the air.
Yes, you cannot stand over the dirt and scream at the seed to grow faster. It has its own timeline.
The waiting is not a delay. The waiting actually is the process.
That is so true. Real, lasting change requires giving yourself the gift of time. Deep roots take patience.
Let's turn this back to you, the listener. Let's see where you might be rushing your own organic growth.
Yes, take a moment to reflect on this.
Ask yourself right now, what is something in your life that you are rushing? Are you frustrated because you haven't learned a new skill fast enough or haven't reached a goal yet? Pause for 5 seconds.
Remember, just like the seed, invisible work is still work. Be gentle with your own biological clock.
That is such a comforting thought. Now connecting patience to our next topic. Sometimes the reason our goals take so long isn't just about organic growth.
No, sometimes it's because we haven't even started. We were completely frozen.
Right. We don't take the first step. Which brings us to the paralyzing trap of asking, what if?
The advice here is powerful. Don't let fear stop you.
We miss out on so many amazing things simply because we are afraid. Afraid to fail or afraid of what others will think.
Fear is arguably the biggest obstacle to our potential. When older people look back, they rarely regret trying and failing.
They only regret the things they were too scared to even try.
Exactly. But we need to look at the nature of fear itself. Why does starting a new job or asking someone on a date make us feel physically sick?
Like we are standing on the edge of a cliff. Why does that happen?
It comes back to the brain's alarm system, specifically a tiny part of the brain called the amygdala.
The amygdala, the threat detection center.
Right. For millions of years, its only job was to keep you alive in a physically dangerous world.
So if a bear walks into the cave, the amygdala fires.
Yes. It floods your body with adrenaline. Your heart rate spikes. Your rational brain shuts down. You get ready to fight or run.
It is an amazing system for dodging a physical predator.
But modern life rarely has bears chasing us. Yet we still have this highly sensitive smoke detector in our heads.
So our brain starts treating social risks as if they are physical dangers.
Exactly. Your brain cannot easily tell the difference. If you are about to give a public speech, your amygdala imagines people laughing at you.
It calculates the social failure.
And it triggers the exact same biological panic as the bear attack.
It makes you freeze. It tells you the safest option is to just do nothing at all.
But doing nothing guarantees the failure you're trying to avoid.
We really misunderstand what courage is, don't we?
We completely do. We watch movies where the hero never looks scared.
So we think, I need to wait until my fear goes away before I start my project.
But the fear never goes away. You cannot surgically remove your amygdala.
I think comparing fear to a heavy backpack is the best way to visualize this.
That is a great analogy.
Imagine fear is a heavy backpack full of rocks. When you decide to take a risk, your brain straps this heavy bag onto your shoulders.
It makes it hard to stand up. That makes your chest feel tight.
Right. And waiting for courage does not mean waiting for the backpack to magically disappear.
No, true courage is acknowledging the heavy rocks, feeling the straps, and choosing to walk anyway.
You carry the fear with you. It might slow you down, but it doesn't have the power to stop your legs from moving.
You look at the fear and say, I know you were trying to protect me. Thank you for the warning, but I am doing this anyway.
You don't let fear be the boss making the decisions.
And when you act despite the fear, your brain realizes the social threat didn't kill you. Over time, the backpack gets lighter.
Let's ask the listener to think about their own heavy backpack.
Yes. Take a moment to look at your past.
Think about your past. What is one thing you really wanted to do, but you didn't do it because you were afraid of failing? Imagine what your life would look like today if you had just taken that step. Pause for 5 seconds.
Feeling afraid is normal. It just means you are stepping out of your comfort zone. Let fear be a companion, but never the driver.
That is beautiful advice. Now, we just talked about the fear of trying new things, but there is another fear, the fear of letting go of familiar things.
Specifically, the fear of letting go of people.
Yes, relationships. The source material has a tough but necessary lesson here. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life.
This is such a painful psychological hurdle. We are naturally wired for permanence.
We want things to last forever.
Right. We form deep bonds with friends and partners. Our biology actually rewards us with bonding hormones to make us feel secure.
And society tells us that a successful relationship is only one that lasts until you die.
Happily ever after.
Yeah.
So when a friendship naturally fades or a romance ends, we view it as a massive failure.
We torture ourselves thinking we did something wrong.
We fall into what economists call the sunk cost fallacy.
The sunk cost fallacy. That is when you keep spending money on a broken car just because you already spent a lot of money on it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't bear to lose the investment. And we do this with people.
We think, I have known this person for 10 years, even though we have nothing in common now. I can't let them go.
We cling to the history of the relationship rather than the current reality of it.
But the source teaches us that it is completely okay. Relationships can be temporary and still be highly valuable.
We go through seasons of growth. The person you were 5 years ago needed a specific type of friend.
But the person you are today might have totally different boundaries and goals.
Right. A relationship can last 2 years, teach you something amazing, and then reach a healthy conclusion.
Let's use the train analogy here. I think it makes this so much easier to visualize.
It is the perfect visual.
Compare your life journey to riding a passenger train. You are the only person who stays on this train for the whole trip.
Right. From the very first station to the very end.
As your train travels, it stops at different stations, people get on. Sometimes someone wonderful sits right next to you.
You laugh with them, you share stories, you learn from them.
Exactly. They become so important to your journey. But the train keeps moving, and eventually it reaches their specific station.
Because their final destination is not the same as yours.
No, it isn't. They have to gather their bags, say goodbye, and step off your train.
It is so sad to watch them walk away on the platform.
It is deeply sad. But the fact that they got off the train does not mean the miles you traveled together were a failure.
No, the journey was still beautiful.
And holding on to them or blocking the door so they can't leave only causes pain.
Letting go is an act of respect. And remember, an empty seat next to you isn't a bad thing. It just means there is space for the next person at the next station.
Letting go isn't losing, it is growing. Let's have the listener reflect on their own train ride.
Think about the passengers in your own life.
Is there a relationship or friendship in your life that you had to let go of in order to grow? Think about the difficult feelings, but also think about the peace or personal growth that came afterward. Pause for 5 seconds.
It is okay to grieve those goodbyes. But always remember that clearing a seat allows new growth into your life.
Absolutely. Now, if we spend all our time staring out the train windows, wondering what everyone else is doing, we fall into another huge trap.
We certainly do. The trap of comparison.
The advice is clear. Stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison is the thief of joy.
It really is. We evaluate our own value by looking at the people around us.
But today, because of social media, it is extremely easy to forget that everyone is on a different path.
Social media completely hijacks our brain. We aren't just comparing ourselves to our neighbors anymore. We are comparing ourselves to the whole world.
And the worst part is the highlight reel effect.
Let's explain that in simple English for everyone. What is the highlight reel?
On social media, people only post their absolute best moments, their successes, their vacations, their perfect smiles.
Right. Nobody posts a picture of themselves crying over a mistake at work.
Exactly. So you are looking at their highly edited, perfect highlight reel. But you are experiencing your own life behind the scenes.
You see all of your own messy reality.
So you compare your messy reality to their perfect fake picture, and you will always feel like you are failing.
It is a rigged game. It worsens the habit of comparison so much.
Imagine running a track race, like a hurdle race, where you have to jump over obstacles.
Okay, I am picturing it.
You are running in your lane. The absolute worst thing you can do is turn your head to stare at the runner next to you.
Because the moment you turn your head, you lose your balance.
Exactly. You will eventually trip over your own hurdle and fall.
Plus, that other runner isn't even running the same race as you.
Right. Your timeline and your path are exclusively your own. You cannot measure your success against anyone else's track.
We have to stop looking at the other lanes.
Let's ask the listener to think about their own lane right now.
Yes. Take a moment to look inward.
Have you ever felt sad or inadequate after scrolling through social media? Now, take a moment to remember a time when you felt truly proud of your own unique path, regardless of what anyone else was doing. Pause for 5 seconds.
That private pride is what really matters. Your path cannot be measured against a filtered picture.
That brings us to the grand realization of this entire conversation.
This is where everything comes together.
We have gathered all these pieces of advice today: self-worth, patience, overcoming fear, letting go, avoiding comparison.
It is an amazing map for life.
But here's the ultimate question presented in the source. If you really could go back in time and tell your younger self all these things, would it actually change anything?
And the surprisingly honest answer is, honestly, maybe not.
Wait, really? We just spent an hour talking about all this amazing advice, but we wouldn't change anything.
I know it sounds crazy, but think about why.
I am listening.
The desire to go back and warn ourselves comes from love. We want to protect our younger selves from pain.
Right. We want to save them from the heartbreak.
But those exact experiences and those specific mistakes are what made you who you are right now.
Oh, I see.
Removing the pain also removes the growth. Our current wisdom was bought and paid for by those past mistakes.
So to erase the mistakes would be to erase the wisdom.
Exactly. Think of your character like a house built out of bricks. Every time you made a mistake and learned from it, you laid a strong brick.
If you go back in time and pull out the painful bricks, the whole house collapses.
Yes, you would not be wiser. You would just be empty.
That is a staggering way to look at it. It replaces regret with radical acceptance.
It really does. You can forgive yourself for not knowing better.
Because your younger self did the best they could so that you could sit here today with clarity.
It is a beautiful full circle.
As we wrap up this exploration, we want to summarize the core message from the source text.
It is the most comforting takeaway possible.
It is okay not to have everything figured out right now. Life simply takes time. You are exactly where you need to be.
And I want to leave the listener with one final provocative thought.
Please do.
We know we cannot build a time machine and talk to our past selves. But imagine your future self.
Like 10 years from now.
Yes, 10 years from now. They have survived everything you are worrying about today.
Right.
Imagine them looking back at you today. What advice is your future self screaming at you right now?
Oh, wow. They are probably saying the exact same things we talked about today.
Exactly. Be patient. Don't be afraid. Stop comparing yourself. You can apply this wisdom today.
You can receive wisdom backward from your future self. That is incredible.
It really is.
We enthusiastically invite you, the listener, to participate with us, mirroring the source's final prompt. We want to hear from you.
You really do.
If you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self? One sentence. Keep it simple. Let us know in the comments.
Thank you so much for taking the time to pause, reflect, and learn with us today.
Take care of yourselves. Trust your own unique timeline and keep walking your path.